Alright, hi folks. I just finished posting all the speech grades. I actually watched them days ago and just hadn't had time to put all the stuff in. Um, I have to say overall there were some very common issues and some things that need to be addressed and fixed before you do your persuasive speeches. So I thought it would be easier to just kind of go through those and um, explain them verbally for everybody. This applies to almost everybody in the class has at least one of these issues going on. Some people have multiple ones. The biggest three things I saw were organization, support materials and proper citations, and then extemporaneous delivery. Okay, so the first one, organization. I had you turn in your outlines early so that I could help you get them in the right format. Some of you never revised them after I sent you back comments. Some of you never sent one in at all. Um, but you were supposed to make the changes that I told you following the format that you've been given, and then all of that on the outline, with the exception of title, general purpose, specific purpose, and central idea at the top, everything from attention material down is supposed to be in your speech. There were a lot of people who didn't start with attention material. You do not tell your topic first. Do not tell your topic first. Start with your question or your story or your visual aid or whatever it is that doesn't really tell your audience what you're talking about. It just gets their attention, pulls them in, then you tell them what you're talking about. Just starting to talk about your topic or saying, I'm going to talk about so-and-so is not attention material. Do not start with your topic. Start with something broader to grab your audience's attention and then pull them in. There were a lot of people who didn't have all those parts of the orienting material: importance, credibility, central idea, preview your main points. People didn't do transitions properly. People didn't have the proper conclusion format. You just jumped all over the place in the body. You really have to work very hard to get this thing organized properly. It helps you figure out how much time you're actually covering, and that it is logical and flows for the audience to understand. You do not have to turn in your persuasive outline early this time for me to give feedback on, but I think for a lot of you it would be a good idea. Just so I can see that you've got what you need and you have it in there. Everything you talk about should be on that outline. Every single thing. But not written out in complete sentences. Words, phrases, enough that you can remember and then speak to your audience. So like I say, I'm not requiring you turn in your persuasive outline early this time. You do have to email me a final copy that you used to speak with. But if you want me to look at it early, I am happy to. So if at any point you want to send me your rough draft and get feedback, I'm happy to do that. But I'm not going to require you do it this time. Okay, so organization is an issue, and the persuasive speeches are organized exactly the same way, except you might have, your body might be organized a little differently, because rather than topical or chronological spatial, you might be doing problem solution, comparative advantages, motivated sequence, whatever, but you need to do the same kind of introduction, conclusion, transitions, header information, everything. It's all the same. All right. Support materials and citations. There were a lot of people who had absolutely no support materials at all. You had no quotes, statistics, examples, nothing. You just read a list of things, ideas, a list of facts, but they had nothing other than just what came out of your head. This is not a well-supported, fleshed-out speech. You have to take those sources and put them into your speech. You have to pull things out of them and put it into your speech. Then when you do that, you have to cite them properly. There were a lot of people who had citations, they had statistics, they had stuff, but they didn't say where it came from. Or you tried to do citations, but you did not do them properly. Okay? You can't just say at the end of your speech, I used X, Y, and Z as my sources. Or you can't give information and at the end go, oh, that came from so-and-so. It has to be before you give the information so that we know before you start giving it that it's not something out of your head. And so you have to say, according to so-and-so, blah, 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 Or in the July 12th issue of so-and-so magazine, John Smith states in his article entitled blah, blah, blah. The other thing was people just not giving, you can't just say a researcher named Smith or a guy named, so-and-so. You have to tell who it is, what are their credentials, why are they believable. If it's an article, what's the title and author and where did it come? You have to give all the details. It's not enough to just put it in Works Cited because your audience is not looking at that Works Cited page. You have to tell them out loud, according to the New Yorker magazine in July 2012, John Smith said blah, 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 yada, yada. You've got to give all of that. So there were people who tried to do citations, but they just didn't do them properly. Now, I posted 2 videos about research and citations that were YouTube videos a long time ago, and I'm going to put those back into the reading tab where the archive is. I'm going to put those back in there if they're not already. I think they are already in there, but a lot of you need to go back and re-watch those because citations were just not, there were very few people who did them properly. And there were some people who had 1 or 2 good citations, but then they had a bunch of other stuff they didn't cite. So this cost a lot of people a lot of points this time, and it will cost you a lot more next time because you are plagiarizing whether you mean to or not, okay? And then the last thing was extemporaneous delivery. It was really clear to me that a lot of you were just reading word for word off of paper or cards or whatever. Not acceptable. That is not extemporaneous speaking. Extemporaneous speaking is having either, on an outline printed out or note cards with your outline on it, the highlights in words and phrases of every detail you're going to give so you can look at it, go, oh yeah, that's what I want to talk about next, and then talk to your audience. Not read to them. It's boring. If you want to read to them, they could just read it for themselves. You have to make eye contact and engage and talk to them and not just regurgitate it like a robot, okay? You have to speak extemporaneously. And well over half the class, the majority of you did not do that, okay? I'm not asking you to memorize. I'm just asking you to practice enough that all you need to do is refer to your notes, to your outline for everything that you want to include, but you have not written it out word for word. You haven't memorized it. It might come out a little differently every time, but you are engaging your audience. And there were a lot of you who are still talking to the camera. I don't care about that. Don't talk to the camera. Talk to your audience. I want to see you interacting with them. That's the whole point of having them there, is not just so they can watch you and you know what it's like to be in front of people. It's to see you actually interact with them, okay? That's the important thing. So I do not want to see anybody else talking to the camera. Talk to your audience members. Make sustained eye contact with them. Involve them as if it were a conversation. They're not going to talk back to you, but you need to have a much more conversational style of delivery, okay? I really think these speeches needed more work and preparation. I'm sorry if I sound harsh and cranky. I got a cold, it's rainy, it's whatever. There were some excellent topics, and there were some excellent pieces of information, and there were some people who did really good deliveries, but there were a lot of people who the delivery was great, but the preparation wasn't very good. Both are important, all right? If you have specific questions, I went through with the rubric and, gave points out of each category, and I put comments in a lot of the places. If you have questions about the comments, or if I've said something here that you don't really understand what I'm talking about, please let me know. In online classes, I don't know what you need. I don't know if you don't understand something unless you tell me, okay? So please let me know what questions you have. The persuasive speech is worth twice as much as the informative, and I expect more out of it. And frankly, the grades this time around were not really great, okay? So you need to put more time into the preparation and practice phase and then talk to your audience. Don't read to them. That's just terrible. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm here to help. Like I say, you don't have to turn in your outline this time, but if you want to, I'm happy to look at it and give you any feedback. If you haven't sent me your persuasive topic, please do that soon so I can make sure you're on the right track, because they're coming up soon and you need to get going on your research. I think that's it. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Hope the rain stops soon, and I'm here if you need me.